Hey guys, so an interesting video on Wild Rifts. We're back with another complete guide, and today we'll be covering Xayah, which is something I've been working on for really long, and it's been taking a long time to do the Xayah complete guide, but we're finally here with it. So now, as I've said, currently we're in patch 2.2b as I'm recording this, and Xayah, in my opinion, is the top AD carry. She just got buffed again, and her root duration got increased by 0.25 seconds, which doesn't seem significant, but CC, any increase in duration of CC is significant. So it went from 1 to 1.25 seconds, and she also got buffed on her W. And basically, ever since the patch that she got buffed, which I believe was 2.2a, where all her abilities got buffed, she has been a top tier S tier AD carry, and I have been playing her a lot. Now, I do enjoy the safety that Xayah brings with her ultimate, and especially when you buy Xayah's as well. She's really hard to kill if you play safe, a lot like how Ezreal is really hard to kill. But yeah, she's now my third most played AD carry after Jhin and Xayah. But we're just going to jump straight into the practice mode, and we're going to be talking about all the usual stuff we cover. So first up, it's the leveling order. So as you guys can see, I am Team Kha'Zix. But anyways, let's level up all the way to max level, and then we're going to be discussing her leveling order. So first up, there is two things you can take at level 1, which is either your Q or your W. It won't even allow you to take E at level 1. Reason being is that you need feathers to recall with your third ability, but without leveling your first or second, you can't actually do that. So it doesn't even allow you to take the third ability at level 1, which is really good. So no one mistakenly takes that. So normally what you want to do is take your first ability at level 1, unless you're with a Rakan. If you're with a Rakan, both of you can take W, and you can look for a level 1 engage, because the W does give both Xayah and Rakan increased attack speed. So we'll cover the abilities later, but normally level 1 you want to take Q, and on level 2, regardless of whether you took Q or W, you will always want to take E. And on level 3, you take the ability you didn't take at level 1. So if I took Q, I'm now going to take W. So at level 3, I have 1 point in each ability. Level 4, we're going to take E. We max E first, then we'll take ultimate whenever available. We'll max E, and then we'll max W, and then we'll max Q last. So this is the leveling order for Xayah. So now let's take a look at her abilities. So first up is her passive. So as you guys can see below her health bar, there are 5 dots, and those are the feathers that you can store. So first up, we're going to put an enemy dummy here, so we have something to basic attack. So after we use each ability, we're going to get 3 feathers. So if you guys can see, I'm going to launch my first ability. I get 3 feathers, and when I auto attack, it leaves feathers behind the enemy like so. So that's basically her passive. Her passive is the feathers. Now a thing to take note is that the feathers does strike through enemies, so it does pierce enemies. So we're gonna put another dummy here right behind the first one, and we're going to just use this to proc our passive. So here you guys can see I'm attacking the first enemy, but the second enemy is getting hit even though the enemies are my range. So this is my max range here. I'm attacking the first dummy, but when I hit when I auto attack with my passive up, it launches feathers behind the enemy, and it passes through the original enemy. So it sort of semi extends the range of her auto attack, if you guys see it in that way. Now, we're going to cover all her basic abilities. Her first ability, it's just a simple, you guys have been seeing it, is you just launch 2 feathers. Mainly you use this just to poke people out, and also to proc your passive to give herself the feathers. Her W is an attack speed steroid. You attack faster, like so, faster, like that. And a thing to note is that your W does also activate on Rakan. So we're actually just going to take a quick look here. Here is the passive. Oh yeah, forgot to mention that Xayah can recall together with Rakan as well, which is something that I mentioned in the Rakan guide. So they can actually channel, you can actually join Rakan's recall or vice versa. So her second ability, if Rakan is nearby, he will also gain the effects, which is basically just the increased attack speed, and also you get an increased movement speed if you hit an enemy champion. So now her E is her main source of damage. What does it do? As you guys can see, I can't activate it now, but when you have feathers on the ground like that, you can actually press your E to recall the feathers. So if you guys notice, the feathers on the ground does actually have like sort of an arrow pointing towards you, and when you move, the arrow moves. So this is sort of trying to help you gauge whether the enemies will get hit or not. And if an enemy gets hit by 3 or more feathers, they will get rooted, as you guys saw. So what you want to do is you want to try to hit an enemy with at least 3 of your feathers if you can. So some stuff you can do that will get that easily is you Q, auto attack E to get off a quick root. Another way to go about it is you activate your W, auto attack Q, E. This is the fastest way to get off a root if you guys want to know. It's faster than the Q auto attack E. W auto attack Q, E is the fastest way to get off a root. So that's just something to note. And generally you want to get as many feathers on the ground as possible before you use your E. So if you are planning to use your ultimate, or if you have to, you want to ultimate first before you use your E. So her ultimate itself, as you guys can see, it is a cone in front of you. What happens is you will throw out 5 feathers, and during which time you'll be invulnerable. So here it is. So as you guys can see, when I flew up in the air, I'm invulnerable, I'm untargetable, and I will throw out these feathers. But the main point of using it is normally as a defensive tool, so you can be targeted, so you can take damage, not as an offensive tool to get down your feathers, but you can do that if you really want to. So now, something to note is that when you cast your ultimate, you can actually move forward or backward. So when I cast, I can actually move. So it does not like root you on the spot like that. You can actually like move back to sort of put more distance between you and the enemy. However, the movement speed is partially slowed by it, I believe. Let's actually double check that. Does not actually mention, so maybe the movement speed is actually the same, but I do feel like you're moving pretty slow. I'm not completely sure about that, but it also of course procs your passive, where it gives you 3 feathers, so you can just get down as many feathers as possible. The maximum amount you can get is roughly 13 before you have to recall, because your feathers start expiring on the ground. Obviously it does not stay on the ground forever. Yeah, so the maximum amount is roughly 12 or 13 that I've managed to recall at once. So Xayah is really good when people are chasing you, because if you guys notice, okay, I'm just gonna throw out some feathers like that. So normally it's not gonna be in such a straight line, it's gonna be something like that. So if you guys notice, the feathers all converge on you. So it's the best if the enemy is literally standing right next to you. So if an assassin jumps on you or someone just chases you, you just press your E and they'll probably get rooted because they'll get hit by a bunch of feathers if you have feathers on the ground. But I've already talked a lot about Xayah in the commentary guide, and I'm going to be speaking more about that on the gameplay. So instead, now we're just going to cover her builds, her spells, as well as her runes. So this is the build that I like for Xayah at the moment. So, of course, there's alright, we're just going to cover the build first. So I'm going to talk about the crit build, which is basically the only build I recommend. Then we're going to be discussing the Blade of the Rune King and Runan's Hurricane, as well as other items that people like to build on Xayah. Honestly, Xayah has a lot of possible builds, but I do not like the majority of them. This is the only one that I like to build. I always build Infinity Edge first item. Then I always get Gluttonous Greaves as my boots. I never get any other boots other than the Gluttonous Greaves. Then I go for Rapid Fire Cannon, and if there is anyone building armor on the team, I will go for Moral Reminder. If they do not have any armor, I'll go for Executioner's Calling. If there's healing, if there isn't, I'll skip Moral Reminder completely. I'll jump onto the Phantom Dancer, so 3 crit items. Then I'll go for the Guardian Angel. So now, of course, there are many ways to build Xayah. I'll be discussing other items later, but this is my main core build. It's a full crit build. When I say full crit, I don't mean 100% crit, but I mean that all crit items. Of course, you always need Moral Reminder for the penetration as an AD carry. Pretty much every AD carry builds Moral Reminder, with the possible exception of Vayne, but even Vayne goes for Moral Reminder sometimes. Guardian Angel is for the safety and for the enchantment. Standard AD carry enchantments, you either get Stasis or you get not Locket. You either get Stasis or you get QSS, but majority of the time you're going for Stasis on Xayah. because for even more safety, you generally don't need QSS because you can try to avoid CC with your ultimate or your stasis, so you generally go for stasis like 90% of the games. So the crit build, the reason why you go for the crit build is because it gives you a lot of damage in your basic attacks, because going for any other build like the Blade of the Rune King and the Runaan's Hurricane build, either one or both of those items, it really your basic attacks really do very little damage, and you mainly have to rely on your E, which of course with this build you still rely on your E because your E will always be your highest damage source, but with this build your auto attacks will do a lot of damage, especially when they crit. But with alternative build, your auto attacks do like next to no damage, and you're gonna have to rely on your E fully for the damage, which is why I enjoy the crit build, because my basic attacks can do damage. And as you guys know, it's not always the easiest to use your E and get a root, so especially in like late game team fights where the fights are very messy, you might be chasing the enemies instead of them chasing you, so you won't get off any E unless like you flash behind the enemy and press E, but you never really want to do that because it's not safe. So that's why I go for the crit build. And now I'm going to be talking about some other items that you can go for. So I've already discussed you don't really want to go for Runaan's Hurricane. You don't really want to go for the Blade of the Rune King, if I can find it. No, I can't. Blade of the Rune King, here it is. So you don't really want to go for Blade of the Rune King. Your main lifesteal is going to be from the Gluttonous Greaves. Since we don't build Bork, our only form of lifesteal is Gluttonous Greaves and the Ravenous Hunter, which I'll talk about later. And the reason why I don't go for Runaan's Hurricane, another reason I should say, is even though I'm going for crit, I don't really think you need Runaan's Hurricane, because Runaan's Hurricane is mainly for the AoE passive, but your own passive, which is your Clean Cuts, already gives you the AoE when you have your feathers. It already strikes through the enemies, it already pierces them. You don't need the Runaan's Hurricane passive. You'd rather go for the Rapid Fire Cannon passive or the Phantom Dancer passive. So some alternatives is that you can go for Static Shiv, like that if you want full offense, but I like the safety of the Phantom Dancer. You can also go for Bloodthirster for lifesteal instead of Guardian Angel if you want, but I like the safety of the Guardian Angel. So those are two alternatives you can have to this build, but generally this is the build you want to go. Runes, only viable rune on Xayah is Conqueror, so you want to go for that. For the first rune, you can of course go for Brutal, you can of course go for Champion Xayah being safe, but I like to go for Hunter Vampirism because the only form of healing or lifesteal that you have is from your Gluttonous Greaves, and this is the other form of lifesteal that I like to have, because without the Hunter Vampirism you really don't lifesteal a lot. So when you take damage, it's really hard to lifesteal back the damage that you take, because we don't build Blade of the Rune King. Unlike most other AD carries that do build Blade of the Rune King, that's their lifesteal source, but we need the Hunter Vampirism. Second rune choice, as usual, is normally up to your preference. I like to go for Hunter Titan. You can also go for Spirit Walker. And the other runes, it's honestly, I think that the second rune choice is always just, you can honestly, every second rune is viable on like pretty much every champion. It's just a matter of personal preference, but generally Hunter Titan and Spirit Walker is better. I like to go for Sweet Tooth because I like the extra healing on the fruit, but if you don't like Sweet Tooth, you can also go for Hunter Genius. The rest are not really good. And for the spells, you of course always want to take Flash, and then you go for Barrier or Heal. Now I did say in my patch notes that probably Heal is better now that Barrier got a 30-second nerf. However, Barrier is, Barrier can block a lot of damage that Heal can't, because Heal is just giving you a little bit of health, but Barrier can actually block a lot of damage, so a lot of AD carries are still going for Barrier. So at the end of the day, it's your personal preference and how comfortable are you taking Heal or taking Barrier. So it's, either Heal or Barrier, it's up to you which one you prefer. But with that, let's jump on to the gameplay. Okay, so here we have the gameplay. So as you guys can see, in this gameplay I took Heal instead of Barrier. So now, as I said, it's optional, it's up to you. Now in this video I was testing out Heal because this was a couple of days after the patch release. I have been putting off making the Xayah complete guide for a pretty long time, and I was testing out if Heal is more effective. Nowadays I go back to taking Barrier, but yeah, so here, this is why I take my first skill. I can poke with it, and then I get my 3 enhanced basic attacks with my passive, and we basically nearly killed the Lux, who just stood there and took majority of the poke. Now my partner Janna, of course, is trying to get off more poke, and here I'm just trying to hit my CS. so nothing too much here. So we basically semi-shove them away from the minions already. Xayah does get rooted and take a little bit of damage, but not too significant. So here we're just gonna continue trying to harass them. Now with Xayah, you can actually be fairly aggressive and harass them at early levels, depending on who your lane opponent is. Here we're up against a Jinx and a Lux. Jinx at level 1, she is pretty useless. Lux did take her binding at level 1, but she took so much poke from me at the very beginning before she could do anything that now we're in a very dominant position in the lane. So we can actually, you know, exert a lot of pressure on them, make it hard for them to farm, which is what you definitely want to do if you have a health advantage in the game. So here, I did manage to ward the bush, so we can actually see the Lux there. Thankfully, don't get hit by the Jinx W, even though I got rooted because the minion happened to be standing in front of me, so that's fine. So now, Lux did eat the fruit, I believe, so we're relatively even, as did Xayah, so now we're relatively even in lane. And here Lux oversteps a little bit again, she's forced to flash. Jinx puts her trap on top of me, and Lux fills up with a binding. Not too much I can do there. To be honest, I tried to walk away from the trap, but it didn't really work out. So here, as I've been mentioning in the commentary guide, you always want to be using your skills and while farming the wave, unless you don't want to push the wave. If you're trying to freeze the wave, obviously don't do that, but majority of the time what you want to do is you want to use your first skill and then you want to attack the wave, like what I'm doing right here, so that you have feathers on the ground, which forces them to stay away from the feathers. They Jinx with a really good trap there, I should say. So Jinx is alone, unfortunately, so we are going to try to kill her. The Knight actually does not quite secure the kill, but my Q does. So here I'm just going to recall for a reset. I'm just about to hit level 5, but as I was saying, what you really want to do is you always want to first skill or second skill, then attack the wave. Now, second skill at low levels does have a really long cooldown, but you still want to use it to put feathers on the ground, which really zones them away from the minions, because if they want to step up to CS, they're going to be between you and your feathers, and that's going to allow you to get off the E on them and win the trade by default because of that. If not, they're going to have to position at a weird angle to get the minions without standing between you and your feathers, like the Jinx is doing here. So here I got all the feathers on the ground. She has to step all the way to the left side to actually get the minions. So here I do take quite a bit of damage because I keep getting hit by the Lux binding. I don't really enjoy facing Lux in lane because somehow I always get hit by the binding. Now here Lux and Xayah you know, getting into a skirmish there. So there, as you guys can see, I cast my ultimate, which allowed me to avoid the Lux R, and then allowed me to get the kill on her with the recall. Here Camille comes in. As I said, when you chase a Xayah, Xayah just needs to press E and boom, that is it. So here we pick up 3 kills as a team. Camille made a major mistake there. She jumped under the tower. I had all my feathers on the ground. My E just came off cooldown. I smashed my E button, and the moment she reached me, before she could deal any damage, all the feathers came back. She got rooted under the tower and she's gone. She loses her life. And yeah, also, so 2 really good examples there. Number 1 is how the Lux E, the Xayah E is really good for when people are chasing you, like the Camille. And secondly, how the Xayah R is really good for dodging skills, like how I dodged the Lux ultimate there. Now, if I got hit by the Lux ultimate there, who knows, I probably would have died with the follow-up from the Jinx and or the Camille, but because I dodged it with my R, the feathers were on the ground, which allowed me to get off my E on Lux and eliminate her from the equation before the entire full-on fight broke out. If that did not happen, Lux would still have been in the fight, and the fight could have turned out really differently. So that fight was a really good example of the Xayah E and the Xayah R. So here, just getting them down some wards, we do manage to secure the Mountain Dragon off that of those 3 kills on the bot lane. Enemy team, of course, being really smart about it and gets our fruit. Or I should say pops our fruit, which gives us a minor disadvantage in lane in terms of our overall sustain, which is a really good move on their part. You guys should always do that if you manage to get a chance to do it safely, but don't greed over popping the enemy's fruit or eating the enemy's fruit, because I have died a number of times because I have greeded over doing that. So I've learned my lesson since then, so I normally don't fall into that trap anymore. Here Lux is very overextended again. Jinx is nowhere near, but Jinx, what this Jinx is really good at doing is laying down her traps. A lot of Jinx are not good at doing that, but this Jinx in particular is really good at laying down her traps. You want to always lay it at where your enemy is going to walk. In this case, between the Lux and me, so I always get rooted. Here we're trying to go over to help the Lee Sin, but Zed bursts him with the full combo, so we can't really do anything about it. Camille comes in here. We're pretty close to Tara, so it should be fine. Here we're just, getting off double root on both of them. We get the kill on the Jinx. Zed comes in. He's not going to be doing too much because he already used his ultimate, so all he has left is his basic abilities. Doesn't manage to kill Xayah with his basic abilities. He doesn't do that much damage yet, so we pretty much win that fight, even though we drew like the attention of the Zed and the Camille to us. Off another good Xayah E. So Xayah does really well into anyone who's chasing her. Here we're gonna, get off a lot of damage on the Camille, forces her to flash away. Yasuo is gonna go onto the chase. Zed comes back for more, but he thinks better of it, and then he's going to... is he gonna go walk away? No, he's gonna actually come in on us. So here we're just gonna basic attack him. Take note, we already have our Infinity Age completed, so our basic attack is gonna hurt, like you see there. So we didn't... in this occasion, you see, we did not actually have 3 feathers on the ground before we recalled our feathers, but in this case, we are just using the feathers for damage. The CC is not important in this case. All we want to do is kill the Zed. So we got down 2 feathers, we crit on our basic attack. All we need to do is press E, recall the 2 feathers, and Zed is dead. So don't greed over getting 3 feathers on the ground as well, because I have fallen into that trap, especially when I first started learning to play Xayah. Now, I will say that Xayah is not the easiest champion to play at the start. You probably need about 20 games or so to get used to how her feathers work and how to recall them such that you get off a root. Because when I first started playing her, especially like the first 5 to 10 games, I never get my root off. I thought that the feathers are gonna hit the enemies on the way back, but they didn't. Like only 1 or 2 hit, and I didn't get the root. So it does take some time to get used to how the Xayah's feather system works. So if you guys are picking up Xayah, don't get disheartened if you can't hit any roots at the start, because everybody starts off that way, so it's really normal. So here Garen is just going in on us. I get off my ultimate to avoid his E, and then recall a whole load of feathers on the Garen who's standing right next to me. He gets rooted, takes a chunk of damage, and my team and myself does finish him off. Garen, of course, is innately really tanky. He's not even really building tank. He's going for Black Cleaver and then what looks to be good, a Sterak's Gauge second item, but he is really tanky just innately. So here we already have our Infinity Age and Rapid Fire Cannon, as well as our Gluttonous Greaves. So we are, of course, doing really well. 702, so we are really fat at the moment. Our Ziggs not doing too hot. Yasuo is doing fine. Xayah, of course, has been with us this entire time, racking up the assists, and Lee Sin is doing fine. The enemy on the side of the enemy team, Lux, of course, overextending a lot, so not doing too well. Jinx, despite playing alright, she is, a little bit behind from the kills in the bot lane. Camille not doing too hot. Garen is actually doing pretty well for the enemy team, honestly. Zed is also doing pretty well. So this is still a alright game for them so far. We do have a 5k goal lead, but the goal is mainly on me. As you can see, I have 9.5k goal, and Yasuo only has like 7.5 and Ziggs has 8, so I have quite a lot more gold than my teammate, so I don't really want to die. Here Lee Sin panic kicks away the Camille, and that we easily could have gotten the kill on the Camille if he didn't like panic kick away the Camille. So here Janna's flashing in. I have to go up to help her because she's in the middle of everybody. Here I'm basically just running them down. I kill the Lux pretty easily, and then the Jinx as well, because they're both really squishy targets. Garen is a little bit of a bigger problem here, but he is in the middle of the entire enemy team. He flashes away. I flash to follow, but I realize it's a major mistake because my basic attacks are just tickling him. Now the reason why I flashed there is because I thought that being so ahead, I would be able to do more damage and kill him, but the reality of the situation is that Garen is just so tanky. There's not a lot we can do to him, even being so ahead. So here we're just going to take the dragon. So here, just using our passive and our skills just to take the dragon faster. Yeah, nothing too interesting to report here, so I'm just going to recall, pick up more items. So we have completed our Mauler Reminder, which is really going to be helpful against the Garen. Now Garen does not have any physical defense items per se, but we can shred through his base armor, so it's still really good, especially when Garen and Camille are both are innately tanky without items, so it's really good against them. The other enemies not so much because they're really squishy here. Zed gets knocked out by the Yasuo tornado, and I contribute the damage to finish him off. So here my team is in a pretty good spot, sidestepping the Lux ultimate. Camille doing a really good job of split pushing, I would like to say, because we all are seen at the mid lane. So Camille did manage to steal our second tier tower at top, but we're gonna try to trade it for this second tier bot lane tower. Garen shows up only to get knocked up by Janet, and we're gonna try our best to ignore him and just get the tower, which is exactly what we do. He tries to clear the minions, but he doesn't have enough wave clear despite him spinning on the minions here. Yasuo recalls to stop the Camille, which is really good. Someone on the team has to be doing that, and Yasuo did that. So here I'm putting a ward in the enemy jungle, in the middle of the enemy jungle, just to see. So here we're gonna get off the route on the Garen to try to stop him from getting away, and then we're just gonna auto attack him down into the tower range as well, taking 2 tower shots. But we do finally get the kill on the Garen. So as you guys can see, that the moral reminder made a huge difference, and Garen now is going for some form of a physical defense item because he has picked up the cloth armor. So it's a good preemptive buy on our part, and also the grievous wounds part of the moral reminder is really good as well, because Jinx has gone for Bloodthirster's first item for some reason, so it's really going to help against that. We're going to talk about Jinx build later on at the end of the video. Zed just has to flash away from us just because of how much damage our basic attack is doing. Here we're just going to proxy the top wave, because we're really ahead at the moment, so we have pretty free reign on the enemies, to be honest. Here the whole team is just going to pile onto the Garen. I somehow managed to walk into the Lux snare yet again. I've been doing that the entire game, not good. You see, yet again, we walk right into the Lux snare. But here we're just gonna siege the inhib, and not too much the enemy team can do. They're all really squishy. If they step up, we can get off all our damage on them, so we're just gonna have to back off and give us the inhib. Zed is now on split pushing duty, and he's trying to push up top, but Lee Sin is there to kind of stop him from doing that. So it's all good. Zed does have his ultimate though, but he still falls to the Lee Sin. He did try to use it at the end, but doesn't really help him too much. Here, we have picked up all our crit items. We have picked up our Zhonya's for even more safety. We have our Moral Reminder completed. We're doing a ton of damage, so we're just going to be taking the red buff. We're going to be doing way more damage than the Lee Sin, so we're just going to pick it up. Really helpful for the slow and extra damage. We're also going to pick up the Raptor Camp. As I've mentioned in previous videos, you want to be picking up your own jungle because your jungler is not going to have enough time to get his entire jungle himself. So we can't always just pick up, our jungler's jungle camps, because he's not going to be able to farm up all his camps anyway. So there is free gold lying on the map in our jungle. We're just going to pick it up and get any gold that you can. So here we're just we were thinking of shoving down mid, but we might be redirecting ourselves to bot here. It's a little bit hard to just force the end unless we get pick up kills on a lot of the enemies here. So looks like Garen is going for a Randuin's Omen, so it was a pretty good decision to get the Moral Reminder early. So here we are so ahead that I can pretty much just solo the dragon by myself without my jungler or anyone, because the enemy team is too weak to even come out of their base to contest this dragon. So me and Jenna, we're just going to pick it up without the Lee Sin's help. So here just solo, we get our 3rd dragon of the game. Honestly, it's not really even that important. Here we should be just what we should be doing is actually just trying to end. But what's really happening is me and my team we're not doing that. That's not good at all. What we should be doing right here is trying to end, not fool around and drag out the game where the enemy team has a chance to come back, because the Jinx is a really late game character. Lux also does a lot of damage late game, so we don't want to be wasting any time here. So while our team is distracting them in mid lane, we're going to be pushing up top. Now we can actually see that Garen is we actually did catch a glimpse of Garen walking towards us, but so we both ward, but we don't spot him out on the ward. Instead he comes by the safe way. Pretty good decision on his part there. Ziggs with not the best ultimate in the world, but did manage to zone them off us, so not the worst as well. Here we're just gonna force down the inhib as well, so we're just systematically dismantling their team. tried to get off a root there, but doesn't really matter. Our basic attack crits on Jinx and she just dies to our basic attacks. This is why I go for the crit build for this giant crit damage. As you can see, we're critting for like 400 plus, 200 plus, 300 plus on the minions, and of course the enemy champions as well. So we do get off a lot of damage with our basic attacks, which is why I go for this build. Here, Yasuo is just getting off damage on there. I'm just going to be focusing the base. I just want the win. I don't care about the kill. So here we're just going to pick up the win. Of course, this is a ranked game, so all I want is the win and you know, the mark. So yeah, we do pick up the victory, and we're going to move on to looking at the stats. So here, as you guys can see, we are MVP with 12-0-4. So we did do really well in that match. Of course, Xayah does have the most assists and highest teamfight participation. The support normally does do that. Garen took the most damage, but you know, I've covered our build, so nothing too much to report there. But we did actually manage to farm up a lot of minions and do a lot of tower damage in the process, as well as getting a lot of gold. So this is really good for us. Ziggs 0-for-5. Honestly, it's pretty bad for what is a really strong character at the moment, really strong champion at the moment. So his build is fine. Seraph's Embrace on Ziggs is alright. Lulin's is fine. He's going for a death cap next, so it's not too much to report there. Yasuo has gone for the Blade of the Rune King first into the true crit items. It's fine. It's one of the many builds that Yasuo can go. The Blade of the Rune King first item. Lee Sin gone for a Black Cleaver into Youmuu's into Duskblade, going for an assassin style build, not too bad. Janna's standard support items. Lux standard Lux build. We're gonna skip Jinx because we're gonna discuss her. Camille standard build. Garen standard build as well, going for the physical defense at the end, which is really good because our team is mostly physical damage. Ziggs, who's our main magic damage dealer, not doing too hot. Good Garen build there. Zed going for a standard build. He's going towards a Black Cleaver third item, so pretty standard Zed build. And now we're going to be discussing Jinx. So Jinx, no idea what she's thinking here. She goes for Bloodthirster as her first item. The only champion that does that is Draven, because Jinx needs like the attack speed. Jinx needs the attack damage. Now Bloodthirster does give 65 attack damage, but why not? If you want attack damage, just go for IE first. If you want attack speed or attack damage, go for Bork first. So normally Jinx build is Infinity Edge, Runan's Hurricane, you know, Boot Enchant, you know, into like more crit items, or Guardian Angel, or Mortal Reminder or whatnot, and possibly Blade of the Rune King first. Some people like to go for Blade of the Rune King first, some people don't. I have no personal preference. I go for it sometimes first, and I go for straight into IE first sometimes, but you know, I don't even build Bloodthirster on Jinx, but so this Jinx build is really bad. Like, the Jinx played alright, but the build is horrible. Don't build Bloodthirster first item. But you know, we're just gonna quickly, you know, move on to the numbers. We're just getting to quite a long video. Okay, so as you guys can see, we did the most damage, roughly 22k damage. No one on the enemy team was close. No one on our team was close. So this one we got most damage by a mile. We take almost the least damage. Ziggs takes the least damage, which makes a lot of sense. We take the like basically the second most least damage, which is good because Xayah shouldn't be taking a lot of damage. You should be, you know, immuning the main damage that you're taking. Like for example, the Lux R, I you know, avoided the Lux R of my ultimate. Shouldn't be taking too much damage, and our teamfight participation is honestly good. It's 16, just one below Xayah, who has the most teamfight participation. We farm a lot of gold from all those kills and all those minions as well. On the enemy team, you know, Jinx has really lackluster damage. Lux had the most damage, but she was always out of position. Actually, not the most damage on the enemy team, but respectable amount of damage. Zed also respectable amount of damage. Garen does the most damage of the enemy team and tanks the most the entire game. Honestly, Garen was just trying his best to carry his team, but you know, to no avail. But yeah, this was the Xayah gameplay and the Xayah complete guide. So thanks for watching the video, guys, and goodbye.